Let's get back to talking about Dominic Raab. He, of course, is out of a job, not just as Justice Secretary, but also as Deputy Prime Minister. He also faced quite a strong threat from the Liberal Democrats in his constituency, maybe out as a Tory MP in 2024. Should he have resigned, though? Did he bully anyone? And do we have a politically activist civil service? Well, let's talk about all of this with Nick Dubois. You'll know him well, of course, here on Talk TV. He's a former special advisor, and he was Chief of Staff to Dominic Raab when he was Brexit Secretary. Good morning, you Nick.
Good morning to you.
It's funny, we talked to David Davis a bit earlier, and he was boss to Dominic Raab. You were his Chief of Staff. Just first of all, just your experience of working for Dominic Raab.
Well, the bottom line is, and I said this when I gave evidence to the Adam Tolley report.
This is the KC who looked into these allegations.
And I did that very recently. Look, bottom line is, he is direct, he is demanding, he is challenging. He's also 2 steps ahead of everyone else. He's got superb command of his brief, and he doesn't like to waste time, and he gets straight to the issues.
Sort of person we'd want as a cabinet minister.
Well, precisely, and that is the point. You do want someone who is going to challenge, look at the evidence, and then make decisions. Now, the bottom line is that this whole report, which I stress this because I don't think we talk about this enough. The fact of the matter is 6 complaints were dismissed. The claims that were leaked by the civil service, who broke their own code of conduct, these members of the civil service, about him throwing things, about him having tantrums and shouting at people, which I repeatedly said here at my time here at Talk TV, was just never saw any evidence, and he's the most courteous person that I've ever come across, particularly in meetings.
But that isn't interesting. We were told there were a couple of dozen people who made complaints, and a lot of these complaints by junior people who didn't often have direct experience themselves. They apparently were trying to back up their colleagues. Again, these were thrown out. That's quite telling, isn't it, that the most damaging complaints, the ones that we saw all over the papers being leaked in interviews with the BBC by whistleblowers,
exactly,
was let's
completely
face it,
unfounded.
This wasn't a whitewash of a report. It was a very detailed report, lots of pages, and he was found to have acted inappropriately in 2 of the 8 complaints. So we can't say for a moment this case he was just saying, oh, everything's fine.
No, he isn't. But I think the point.
So that's the point. Is that you know, when he says there wasn't evidence for these other claims, we have good reason to believe.
Well, they were made up, weren't they?
Exactly. And what does that tell us?
Well, look, I think it's really important to try and understand what was in that report. And Tolley replied, essentially, look, bullying, there's a difference between being abrasive and being abusive. And at no point did he say Dominic Raab was ever abusive, and nor did he target any individual to intimidate them. That's how most people would understand bullying. However, relying on an interpretation back from 2018 from a lady called Dame Sally Owens, both being abrasive and abusive is now considered bullying. And the difference, of course, is if you're abrasive, it's about your style. You're not targeting an individual.
Yeah.
And if I said to you that Dominic Raab was abrasive with a Foreign Office official who far exceeded their responsibility when they were in negotiations with Gibraltar over Brexit, you'd probably go, well, too right, he should be.
Well, this is it. Again, this refers to this. One of the 2 cases that were held up was his treatment, and he spoke to the British ambassador to Spain, who basically went against the express wishes of the cabinet, the democratically elected government of our country, with a huge mandate, you know, at that time, to basically to put a border force staff from Spain on the Rock of Gibraltar. This had been explicitly ruled out, and he suggested this. I'm sorry, that's an instant gross misconduct sacking.
Well, now, the point is, in the private sector, you're spot on. In the private sector, and I was there, I would issue a written warning, I would issue verbal warnings or gross misconduct. Here, Dominic Raab has been told for even mentioning the code of conduct, he's therefore a bully. This is ridiculous.
So this is the thing. Now, again, I'm sure he's a hard taskmaster. Best bosses I've ever had have been hard taskmasters because they make you work better and harder and bring you to your full potential. There is I'm going to come to the politicisation issue next, but is there an issue in the civil service, you having worked in government, that this whole idea that we have this first-class civil service, and let's leave aside, you know, people who are, you know, dealing with planning complaints at a local council, this supposedly, you know, top class, first class, top first from Oxford and Cambridge in classics, civil service, working in Whitehall. Has it gone as downhill as it would appear to have done, and actually it's got lazy and fat and incompetent?
Well, look, I probably won't be too popular for saying this, but I've also worked with the civil service, and there are some brilliant people in there, and I don't subscribe to the blob theory. There are pockets of resistance, absolutely.
That's the phrase, pockets of resistance.
And they're in the Home Office, and clearly Dominic Raab came up against a coordinated approach to these levels of complaints. The problem, I think, is that many people in the civil service now see their job, and they would define it as speaking truth to power, which sounds really quite noble, doesn't it? But actually their job is to enforce and deliver the minister's policies. And if that sometimes means saying, by the way, that might not work, Minister, fair enough, and you can have a good debate about that. But actually, that's what we seem to have lost.
Oh, not even a debate. No, what you want is, here's our briefing on why we think this policy won't work, and here's the reason why. But then the government minister says, no, we're going to do it anyway.
And that's it. That's the end
Shut up and get on with it. But again, that's the whole thing. But that's where you come into Brexit. And again, talking about the politicisation, it's just blatantly obvious to me that there has been a clear undermining. We know that's what happened, taking captive. You know, everyone goes native and they go into these government departments, and the blob of the civil service, Remainer, anti-Tory, anti-Brexit, wanting to sort of try and stop this project from going ahead. And it took the British people in December 2019 to go, no. No, right. we want our vote to be enacted to overcome that. But there is this urge, this idea that, well, we know better than the democratically elected government, when their job is it's in the job title, civil servant. You are to do what you've been told to do. I'm sorry, that's the deal.
Well, no, absolutely. And I saw that at its highest level during the negotiations on Brexit, when after a meeting where Dominic Raab had been particularly robust on one point with Michel Barnier. And by the way, when I say robust, it was a very civil, but he stood his ground. And afterwards, one of the senior civil servants came out of that meeting, came to me as his special advisor, and said that was outrageous what he did. He shouldn't have done that. He's ruining the negotiations. And I think that kind of sums up for you,
doesn't it,
what the balance is. Now, I repeat, I'm not generalising about the civil service at all. I wouldn't make that mistake. But I do feel the evidence in the Tolley report shows it, particularly on Dominic Raab. There was a coordinated attempt to coordinate complaints, which, by the way, came from a lot of people who hadn't even experienced
exactly.
it firsthand.
Small point also, anyone who made those complaints that were then not held up, they carry on with their job.
Well,
no one's going to be disciplined.
This is my point. Why
as Dominic Raab says, the people who went and spoke to the BBC and others. Now, as a journalist, I'm all in favour of whistleblowers. We get information. But nevertheless, they were in breach of the code of conduct.
Exactly.
Are any of these people going to be disciplined?
The chances are they won't be disciplined, and I think they should, in fairness, because they've actually broken the code, which has led to a narrative.
And it wasn't like they had a job of whistleblowing as something that was being covered up. There was already this inquiry. It was clearly not a whitewash.